In almost every data analyst job posting, one skill shows up more than any other. It's not Python, it's not Power BI, it's SQL. And here's the part that actually matters. Most people who say they know SQL know about 4 commands: select, from, where, and maybe group by. That gets you through a tutorial. It does not get you through an interview. Because the moment someone asks you to join 3 tables and the row count doubles and you can't explain why, the interview is over. So today, this is the deep dive. What SQL actually is. The 6 clauses that do 90% of the work. The execution order that nobody teaches you and that explains almost every confusing error you'll hit. Joins properly. Window functions, which are the real line between junior and senior. And how to use AI without letting it rot your skills. Let's get into it.
So first, what is SQL really? SQL stands for Structured Query Language. But forget that. Here's the useful version. SQL is how you ask a database a question. That's it. Your company's data does not live in a spreadsheet. It lives in a database. Millions of rows, sometimes billions. And SQL is the only way you get to talk to it. Now, here's what makes SQL different from Python or Excel. SQL is declarative. That's a fancy word for a simple idea. You don't tell the database how to get the answer. You just describe what you want, and the database figures out the how. In Excel, you'd write a loop or drag a formula down. In SQL, you say, give me total revenue by region for last quarter, and it just does it. That's why SQL survives every technology wave. The tools around it keep changing. The question stays the same.
Okay, the 6 clauses. Learn these properly and you can handle 90% of real analyst work. Select. Which columns do you want back? From. Which table are they in? Where? Filter the rows before any grouping happens. Group by. Collapse rows into buckets. 1 row per region or 1 row per month. Having. Filter those buckets after grouping. And order by. Sort the final result. Now, the 2 that trip people up constantly, where and having, they both filter. So what's the difference? Where filters individual rows before they're grouped. Having filters the groups after. So where revenue is greater than 1,000 filters single transactions. Having sum of revenue greater than 1,000 filters entire regions. Different question, different answer. If you ever get an error saying you can't use an aggregate in where, that's exactly what just happened to you.
Now this next part is the single most useful thing in this entire video, and most courses never mention it. SQL does not run in the order you write it. You write select first, but the database runs it almost last. Here's the actual order. From. The database grabs the tables. Then join. It stitches them together. Then where. It throws away rows you don't want. Then group by. It collapses what's left into buckets. Then having. It filters those buckets. Then select. Only now does it work out your columns. Then order by, and finally limit. Why does this matter so much? Because it explains the errors. Ever try to use a column alias you created in select inside your where clause? It fails. And now you know exactly why. When where runs, select hasn't happened yet. That alias does not exist. Once you internalize this order, SQL stops feeling random. You stop guessing and you start predicting what the database will do.
Right. Joins. This is the part that decides interviews. A join combines rows from 2 tables based on a matching column. 4 types matter. Inner join. Only rows that exist in both tables. Customers who have placed an order. Left join. Everything from the left table plus matches from the right. And where there's no match, you get nulls. This is the one you'll use most because usually you want all your customers, including the ones who never bought anything. Right join. Same idea mirrored. Honestly, most analysts just flip the table order and use left instead. And full outer join. Everything from both sides. Rarer, but it exists. Here's a practical tip that will save you. When you want to find rows that don't match, use a left join and then filter where the right side is null. That's how you find customers who never ordered. It's a classic interview question and it comes up constantly in real work.
Now the join trap. This is what separates people who've actually shipped queries from people who've only done courses. You join orders to order items, and suddenly your revenue number is triple what finance says. What happened? Fan out. Your orders table has one row per order. Your order items table has one row per product in that order. So an order with 3 items becomes 3 rows after the join. And if you then sum the order total, you've counted it 3 times. This is the most common bug in analytics, and it is silent. Nothing errors, you just get a wrong number and you present it confidently in a meeting. So here's the habit. Before you trust any join result, count your rows. Before the join and after. If the count went up, you fanned out. And you need to either aggregate first or sum a column that lives at the right level of detail. Row counts before and after, every single time. Okay, window functions. If joins get you the interview, these get you the senior title. Here's the idea. A group by collapses your rows. 10 transactions become one total. You lose the detail. A window function does the calculation but keeps every row. So you can see each transaction and the running total side by side. The syntax is a function, then over, then a window. The 4 you'll actually use. Row number for ranking. Give me the top 3 products in each category. This is the classic. Rank and dense rank. Same idea, but they handle ties differently. Lag and lead to look at the previous or next row. This is how you calculate month-over-month growth in one query without joining a table to itself. And sum over for running totals. Cumulative revenue by day. The magic ingredient is partition by. It restarts the calculation for each group. Partition by category, order by revenue descending, row number. And there's your top products per category. One query, no subqueries. If you can write that comfortably, you're already ahead of most applicants. Let me give you the queries that actually come up in interviews. First, find duplicates. Group by the column and use having count star greater than 1. Second, second highest salary. This is asked constantly. Use dense rank and filter where rank equals 2. Don't use the limit and offset trick. It breaks with ties. Third, running total. Sum over order by date. Fourth, month over month growth. Lag to grab last month's value, then compute the percentage change. And fifth, customers who never ordered. Left join, then where the right side is null. Those 5 patterns will carry you through most technical screens. And one more thing about interviews. They rarely care if your syntax is perfect. They care whether you talk through your logic. Say out loud, I'll start from the orders table, left join customers so I keep everyone, then filter, then group. That narration is what they're actually scoring. Now, AI and SQL, because this changed the job, and I want to be honest about how. AI writes decent SQL. Genuinely, you can describe what you want and get a working query back. So, does that mean you can skip learning this? No. And here's the specific reason. AI does not know your data. It doesn't know that your orders table has soft deleted rows that everyone forgets to filter. It doesn't know your revenue column includes cancelled orders. It doesn't know that joining these 2 tables fans out. It'll write syntactically perfect SQL that returns a confidently wrong number. And you will be the one presenting that number. So here's how to actually use it. 1. Paste your table structure first. Column names, types, and how the tables relate. Context is everything. 2. Ask it to explain a query you didn't write. This is genuinely the fastest way to learn. 3. Use it to optimize. Say, this query is slow. What would you change? And 4. Always run a sanity check. Count your rows. Spot check a few values against something you already know. The rule is the same as always. If you can't explain the query, you don't own the answer. So how do you actually practice this? Not by watching more videos. Here's the plan. Week 1 and 2, the 6 clauses, until they're automatic. Week 3, joins, and specifically fan out. Practice counting rows before and after every time. Week 4, window functions. Focus on row number with partition by and lag. Then ongoing. Real data, not tutorial data. Download a messy public dataset, load it into a free Postgres or DuckDB instance, and answer actual business questions with it. And here's your portfolio move. Write one query that answers a real question, then write a short explanation of what it does and why you structured it that way. Put both on GitHub.
Because a hiring manager reading your reasoning learns more about you in 30 seconds than any certificate could tell them. Quick recap. SQL is asking a database a question. 6 clauses do most of the work. Execution order explains your errors. Joins fan out, so count your rows. Window functions keep your detail, and AI writes the syntax, but you own the answer. If this helped, subscribe. And tell me in the comments which SQL concept confused you the longest. I read every one. See you in the next one.